Hello and welcome to Literary Loitering, part of the Geek Show podcast network. We are the part of the Geek Show that deals with a gallimaufry of news related to the arts, books, theatre and nonsense. I'm Graham and this week I've been joined by Sarah.
Hello, the beautiful people.
Rob.
Hello.
And Andrew.
Buongiorno mio piccolo fettuccinis.
Guess who's just come back from Italy?
Buongiorno mio.
Incredibly insufferable about it.
Yeah. Buongiorno mio piccolo fettuccinis.
Fettuccinis.
Yeah,
Good
you don't
day,
speak
my
Italian,
tiny
Rob.
fettuccinis.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, I was caught off guard slightly because first Sarah calls us beautiful and then Andrew starts speaking Italian.
It's a good week already, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ciao.
Yes. Well, let's welcome Andrew back in the way that I think he's going to find the most tingle-inducingly exciting, which is to say, we have some Game of Thrones news.
I thought you were going to go with a Vespa or something like that since he's been in Italy. A polo neck and a Vespa.
A vest is exciting, but...
No, a Vespa.
Right.
a polo neck, little round sunglasses and a Vespa. Just Andrew on there going, ciao.
I just got it.
It has started.
Okay, that's enough John Bearcow, thank you.
Okay.
Tune in next week for more literary loitering.
Can I make a confession?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was not the Game of Thrones watch theme tune I had planned. Because tragedy upon tragedies, my co-hosts. I can't find my slide whistle.
Uh-oh.
See, as he was doing the theme tune, I could just imagine, the accordions.
Yes. I imagine him leading a troupe of accordionists like in Holy Motors.
Through a car park in Paris.
Yes.
Yes.
Listen,
Or a catacomb, maybe.
you can all joke, but you were saved by the rational part of my brain stepping the rest of me down from that ledge of I should absolutely play it on a recorder.
Oh, wow.
Because I found one. I found one buried in the house.
Wow.
Oh, right. Okay, Graham, go. Before he starts playing on the recorder.
Well, yes, George R.R. Martin's been taking one of his regular breaks from his writing desk this week to talk about what people can expect in terms of changes between the final series of Game of Thrones and the final books in the series.
Okay.
And this may surprise you, but he says the books are going to be quite a lot longer.
Books, you say? Longer than a film?
Longer than a
It's
TV
almost like
series.
they're two different art forms.
Well, a TV series, yeah, I can kind of get it. It makes sense.
Well, I mean, you have to completely abridge a book to make a film. So, I mean, half of the description is taken up in one shot, for instance.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones isn't a film.
No, but you know what I mean, like a teleplay.
Some would argue it's barely a television series.
Yes, the hugely informative statement he's given on his blog is, how will it all end, I hear people asking. The same ending as the show? Different? Well, yes, and no, and yes, and no, and yes, and no. And yes, I'm not making any of this up, by the way. This is literally what he's writing. No
This
wonder
is
he's
what
gonna-
happens.
Is it?
Sorry.
Hang on. Is he laying the groundwork for some 90s techno beat or something like that? Yes, and no, and yes, and no,
And no, and yes, and no.
and just in the background.
It's no wonder the books are going to be long if this is how he pads out a blog post.
He's lost it. He's lost his mind.
It's
run out of
just the
words.
process of him writing the book.
See, I thought he was going to go with It's going to end like life ends, with the grim spectre of death.
Well, yes, it probably is in every sense.
It's fun because that could be about the doom and gloom filled world of Game of Thrones, or about the doom and gloom filled world of George R. R. Martin's personal health.
I'm trying to dance delicately around it, but yeah, that's exactly what I was aiming for.
Oh,
I know it's like when there's a really fine vase in the middle of a room, and you're just holding the baseball bat, and you know you shouldn't.
See, you say that, but a friend of mine, when we were kids, really got into trouble with his mum for breaking her crystal chandelier.
Who was this?
A friend of mine called Robin. He broke his mum's crystal chandelier while he was trying to kill a fly. Oh no,
wow.
it gets better, because his weapon of choice was a rolling pin.
Oh my god. Flipping heck. Was he only really young and not that,
About 16.
Yeah, so.
Are you sure his name was Robin and not Tom the Cat?
Give me 2
or
seconds.
Derek Trotter.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yes, moving on to other books that people are never going to see. We have news about comic books for the blind.
Awesome.
Chad Allen, a comics fan who started to go blind as a result of retinitis pigmentosa at the age of 15, has created the aptly titled Unseen, an audio comic book, which is described in an article by David Barnett in The Guardian as, "It is the first comic book aimed at blind people, featuring a blind character and made by a blind creator. The experience is akin to audio-described cinema. Each panel is described in a matter-of-fact way, dialogue is spoken, and a whoosh sound indicates when the next page is starting. Set in the near future, the first issue opens on the US-Mexican border, where a tyrannical American regime is allowing immigrants to be experimented on for nefarious purposes. Into this scenario comes Afsanza, an Afghan-born assassin who also happens to be blind. She can also turn invisible, not unlike how blind and disabled people can be made to feel by the rest of society. Unalike." Sorry, I didn't notice unalike before I started reading this, and now I can't think of anything else.
Totally a word.
That's the word they used in the article, then.
Yeah.
See, I thought you just flubbed your reading.
Yeah, I thought you'd had a little fluff, but it's one of those. It's obviously taken you by surprise. This word.
Yeah. I suppose I've seen not dissimilar to or not unlike, which I suppose you could argue is basically the same word, but something about that extra A makes it look really weird and awkward.
I mean, it is a word.
It is a word. I guess just the defamiliarization is making me reflect on how you could just have easily have said like.
Unlike.
Yeah, or not even that. Just rather than going not
double negative.
To,
yeah.
Just say same as.
There's a subtle different flavour to it, I think.
Yeah.
Not dissimilar to is the same as quite similar to. But not dissimilar feels sort of more elegant, maybe.
I guess I'd just always been in denial about it being like empty verbiage, and now I've seen this, I've realised that it totally is.
I quite like the way how verisimilitude just means very similar to.
Yeah, like, again. Like is such an underrated word. It means the same thing as a load more faffy words.
But sometimes a word like or from or something that you see quite frequently, it's almost like you suddenly notice it on an occasion and it stands out and you go, is that how that's spelled? Is that word? What is that word?
Oh,
it's like there's a sudden black hole that opens up in your brain or something.
Yeah.
Is this
Anyway,
is
while
this,
Sarah and Graham live through linguistic crisis on infinite Earths, this is a really neat idea.
It is, isn't it? We
It
should
is.
talk about
It is. Sorry. Yes, let's talk about that.
I think in general, I'm a fan of anything that makes comics and, by extension, books or any kind of media just more accessible.
It's nicely multi-dimensional because it describes the contents of the pane, and then somebody has the speech contained in the pane, and then, the window pane, not the pane, as in existential pain. Oh, it could be, but anyway.
Yeah,
and then also,
around.
Yes, we all got burdened down by it. And then the sound of the medium itself, which is the whooshing when the page turns over. So I quite like that multi-dimensional feel about it as well.
I hope there's going to be loads of sound effects in it, like a 60s Batman TV show.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are they going to do something like Crack-a-Thoom?
Probably should say Crack-a-Thoom.
I'd answer it.
It's one of the sound effects that you find in comic books, like you see kaboom and boom and stuff like that.
Like kapow and...
This isn't your daddy's comics anymore.
No.
With your biffs and thwacks.
Yeah, Crack-a-Thoom is basically like a massively loud explosion that could ring across half the planet.
What's it called again?
Crack-a-Thoom. Spelled
Crack-a-Thoom.
Yeah, Krakathom. That's how they spell it.
Oh, that's a great word. I love that word. Man, English is the best.
It is. That is one of my favourite sound effects, and incidentally is the sound of, Thor using his hammer.
Yep.
Along with the sound that Cyclops' eye beams make, which is canonically Zark.
Zark.
Yes.
Oh,
I absolutely love it when comic strips have specialised sound effects for particular characters or gadgets. As any Doctor Who fan will know, the sound the TARDIS makes is warp for warp.
Yeah, the sound of Captain America's shield bouncing off a wall. We don't really need to talk about that.
We're not allowed to mention on a family-friendly show. It has to go in the bad vault along with all of Joker's boners.
Seriously, it's canon as well, that sound effect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it when people make up words.
It's not unlike a thing I greatly do not unenjoy.
That was a really complicated way of saying things.
Did you miss that discussion?
Yeah, you were there, man. You don't know.
We lived it, Rob.
Yeah, onomatopoeia is a genius route into neologisms, so fully approve of Crack-a-Thoom. I'm going to be saying that every day now. The computer goes on, Crack-a-Thoom.
It's interesting.
The bus turns up, Crack-a-Thoom.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that if you... there are certain languages in the world where sound effects are actually part of the language, or the sound of something in particular is part of the language.
Right.
I know that Japanese does it a lot, the actual sound effects. So something like the heartbeat would be doki doki or something like that.
Oh, that's nice.
Or the feeling of cotton wool or clouds would be fua fua.
That's excellent.
That's nice. Like a dog woof in French is wah wah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And we have
sounds translated into different languages is a very interesting avenue so far.
Yes.
And we have Crack-a-Thoom.
We have Crack-a-Thoom, so we're pulling our weight.
Nice. It sounds like a festival that's coming up in November. What are you doing for Crack-a-Thoom? Oh, I thought I'd burn some people.
Crack-a-Thoom is definitely an occasion where things get messy with the lads.
Oh man, happy memories of when I saw Motorhead headlining Crack-a-Thoom. Yes. As I think we've established here, language is nonsense, so I'm pleased to see a country finally taking a harsh line on it. Turkey, the European country that you most want to ask "You okay, hun?" to, has decreed that a million-selling book will not be sold to under 18s. Can you have a guess what that book is?
A million-selling book won't be sold to under 18s. A million-selling
It also
book.
must be concealed from view in bookshops in case under 18s see it.
Is it corruptive?
Incredibly, it is described as a detrimental influence on young people.
Is it the Old Testament?
Ha!
Is it, what was it? The Salacious Diaries of Adrian Mole, aged 25 and a half.
No, depressingly, it's Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls.
What?
Yeah, the children's book cannot be sold to children.
Oh,
Well, that's disappointing, Turkey.
Goodnight Stories
That's differently depressing to what I was expecting, so that's something, isn't it?
Yes, it's a wide world of different types of depression.
Why that book in particular?
Yeah.
The Turkish Publishers Association have also... No, that's something else. I should read this out anyway, because this is good. The Turkish Publishers Association have said that the government's decision was a danger from the perspective of freedoms of expression and press and a threat to the principles of a democratic society. In terms of what the actual government have given as a reason, they simply say some of the writings in this book will have a detrimental influence on the minds of those under the age of 18. There you go, that's it.
And subjecting them to a regime where the incumbent president wants to rule as a tyranny doesn't affect the
Yeah, I
minds of
don't remember them being that concerned about the rights of Turkish children when they were, bombing their own cities.
Or manipulating the democratic vote by arresting all of their prospective opponents.
No.
The government that cried corruption.
Ha!
Oh.
So yeah, lest we get too smug about other countries, who's up for a bit of Brexit news?
Oh, God. When will it be over?
Wait, I've got it. Is the answer literally no one?
I was about to ask, has MC Bojo been spitting his choice rhymes on the mic at the Houses of Parliament again?
Well, I think there are people who are eager for Brexit news. I mean, Dominic Cummings keeps saying that he's really enjoying the process. Everything's going fine.
I'm sorry,
I am not tweeting this with a gun in my mouth.
I'm sorry, but if your surname is that, you really should stay quiet.
If your surname is Cummings, it would be terrible if your head also looked like a massive glans.
What would happen if he got married to somebody whose surname was Goings?
Yes, this is about Tony Thorne, a visiting linguistics consultant at King's College London, who was called for help to build a public glossary of Brexit speak. Now, my best bet is that he could probably compile that by putting out a request for it on Twitter and immediately getting swamped with Ramona, saboteur, cook, traitor. That would be a pretty good way of collecting it.
That would be very cunning.
Yeah.
That would, within a day, he would have it written.
Yes.
So why is he trying to get this thing done anyway?
He says people ought to familiarise themselves, otherwise they risk being bamboozled and duped. I'd say you're over 3 years late with that concern.
I was going to say, late to the party there, fella.
For more than a year, I have been tracking the language of Brexit and populism, he says.
What? It's taken him a year?
A lot of the language, I hope everyone's sitting down before I say this bit, a lot of the language is designed to trigger emotions rather than elucidate.
What?
Well,
I think there's
my bum and call me a gammon.
I think we need to switch some letters around in that last word.
Isn't it? Isn't it elucidate?
I think he means elucidate.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. I was thinking, elucidate. I don't think that's how it's...
I mean, if he's talking about verbiage, the least he could do is read the word in front of him. So.
In his defence, I think I have not insubstantially mispronounced the word.
Well, I mean...
To the tune of mispronounced the word?
I have mispronounced the word, yes.
You've not unmispronounced the word, then.
just add a couple of more sort of qualifiers to the start of it and it will become beautiful prose.
Is this one of those, I'm going to disappropriate my misappearance? Oh, right, okay. So he's not so cunning a linguist then, is he?
Hey, excellent.
Anyway.
Yes. Seeing as we've just done a story about somebody laboriously studying things that are very obvious, shall we move on to Malcolm Gladwell?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was going to save this for the end, but I think this is too beautiful a link. There is a review by Stephen Poole of Malcolm Gladwell's book Talking to Strangers, which I would like to do a very rarely done thing on this show and read out in full, because it's beautiful.
Cool. That sounds good.
Believe it or not, people aren't totally transparent to one another. Liars can seem honest, spies can seem loyal, nervous people can seem guilty. People's facial expressions are not a reliable guide to what they are thinking. Or, to put it in Hamlet's words, one may smile and be a villain. Makes you think, doesn't it? If any of this is surprising to you, then you're in exalted company, because it also surprises Malcolm Gladwell, whose job it is to be puzzled by banalities and then replace them, after a great pseudo-intellectual circumambulation, with banalities. Gladwell affects to find it baffling how we can get people we don't know so wrong. So he calls it the stranger problem and pretends that it explains everything. It explains, for example, the fate of a young black woman named Sandra Bland. Gladwell introduces her by remarking that she was tall and striking with a personality to match, which is just the kind of deft pen portrait that has earned him a reputation as a brilliant writer for the best magazines. In Texas in 2015, Bland was pulled over for a traffic infraction by a cop named Brian Encenina. The encounter rapidly degenerated as the hostile and suspicious state trooper forced her out of her car, called for backup, and had her arrested. Days later, Bland was found dead in her cell. You will guess that there is a counterintuitive take coming. Gladwell wants us to feel sorry for the cop. Think about how hard it was for him, he pleads. Sandra Bland was not someone Brian Encenina knew from the neighbourhood or down the street. They were strangers to each other. Now, other policemen stop strangers all the time without bullying them and hauling them in, but never mind that now. Encenina, as Gladwell credulously interprets his subsequent statements, was terrified of this young woman, who might after all have been planning to burn him with her cigarette. It's very different, don't you see, not to be a brute. What else is it difficult not to be? In Gladwell's world of large ideas, it may also be hard to not be a rapist. He brings his forensic empathy to the case of Brock Turner, the Stanford College student who was caught sexually assaulting an unconscious woman on the ground outside a dorm building. Such a difficult case. Gladwell explains sorrowfully that consuming large amounts of alcohol causes mental myopia, where one is unable to consider the long-term consequences of one's actions. It's just too bad, he concludes, that these careless students both got so drunk at a party that the man could, and I quote, tragically misunderstand the woman's intentions. You may object that plenty of men are able to get blattered without raping people, but that seems to be beyond Malcolm Gladwell. To be sure, this book is not exclusively about standing up for the unlucky men who do bad things just because the stranger problem is so lamentably intractable. It is also littered with historical and pop cultural anecdotes. Why did Chamberlain think Hitler sincerely wanted peace? Such a puzzle leads us through stories about Cuban espionage, predatory paedophiles, the Bernie Madoff fraud, Sylvia Plath's suicide, the interrogation of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and the TV show Friends. At the end of it, Gladwell suggests momentously, maybe real life isn't like Friends. Yes.
Is Malcolm Gladwell one of those people with a massive crazy wall covered in all sorts of bits of paper and string? Because I'm looking at a picture of him here, and he certainly looks the part. Oh my God, that hair. That Leo Sayer hair of his.
Now, in fairness, I have hair like that too, just not on my head.
And I'm just marvelling at, one of his books is called Blink, The Power of Thinking Without Thinking. Another one of his books.
So that's how he writes his books.
Yeah, another one of his books, and I'm still confused by this. Another one of his books is called What the Dog Saw, and Other Adventures.
He's like the king of the awful Waterstone Smart Thinking book where they all have like a photo of a household object in front of a white background, and their title is called something like, How Thinking About Things Can Lead You to Greater Thought.
Oh, he's got another book called David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants. What he's neglected to mention there is some of those underdogs and especially some of those misfits are actually giants.
What he's missed is that giants aren't real. Yeah, I said it. Boom. Where's my book deal?
God, Malcolm Gladwell's basically just like a sentient Twitter hot take, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh. There's the episode title.
Anyway, I'll just pop in the final paragraph of this excellent review. But perhaps if we can all be convinced of this novel truth, we will stop harassing and raping one another for good. If only someone like Shakespeare had encoded the lesson centuries ago in some memorable form, like, I don't know, there's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. In the absence of such poetic conventional wisdom, though, another book by Gladwell might just save the world.
How about...
Although I think the sickest burn is in the paragraph just beneath it, which the sub-editors have inserted, which reminds us that Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell costs £30.
30? Holy mother of God.
See, I just want to point out just two tiny details here, right? Tiny details. Number one, we should follow the Turkish recommendation and not allow children under the age of 18 to read this book because, my God, we tell them constantly, don't talk to strangers.
Yes.
Maybe people over the 18 as well. Maybe they shouldn't read it.
Yeah. You know, and number two, how the hell does he keep getting a book deal?
I know! This is what I've been raging about for years.
Does anyone actually read his stuff? Seriously, I get depressed when I think of the state of editing in the publishing world these days. When I think about all of those talented writers out there who can't get a book deal because people like this are hogging it all.
His last book, I think it was his last book anyway, was Outliers, which I remember was the book where he finally cracked the mystery that the people who were really good at a thing are often the people who've practiced it most.
Oh, you mean Outliers, The Story of Success, which was published in 2008, and then 1 year later, he wrote a book in a year, right? What the Dog Saw
I'm not surprised. It doesn't sound like there's much of a research process.
Yeah, What the Dog Saw and Other Adventures, which is a compilation of his articles published in the New Yorker.
Oh, God. If anything, the biggest sort of problem with Outliers is that Malcolm Gladwell has written loads of books now, and if anything, he's getting worse.
It feels like too cynical. Like, this book about strangers is just... what's the term for it? Dog whistling, is it?
Yeah.
And then immediately after his popular book is published in 2008, he just hastily gathers everything he's penned for the New York, whacks it in a book and flings that out for sale. It's just a bit, cynical. He might as well run a market store.
I think that would be a significantly better use of his time.
Unfortunately, he's too busy writing his next book. It turns out it's actually really difficult to run a market store if you don't have any items to sell. Who would have thunk it?
No, he'd pretend he'd cracked that mystery, though, wouldn't he? It would be something constantly like, Nout, the power of selling things without actually selling anything. And the cover would be a picture of a blank white background in front of a blank white background.
Or it could be the sequel to Talking to Strangers, which is Neighbours. They're definitely up to something. Spoken by a man who's watched...
A novelisation of his favourite plot lines from the Australian soap Neighbours.
Well, yeah, they're definitely up to something. Spoken like a like the man who's
Neighbours. Do good neighbours really become good friends?
No, because he's watched The Burbs far too many times.
Anywho, bit of good news, anyone?
Yes, please.
I had cake.
Right.
Yay! I had flapjacks.
All right, I thought you were asking us for some good news.
No, I actually have them for once.
All right, okay, right.
Jessica Love, the author and illustrator who came up with a children's book called Julian is a Mermaid, about a little boy riding the New York subway with his grandmother, who dreams of looking like the spectacularly dressed women that he sees in the New York Mermaid Parade, which is apparently a thing. There's a photo of it in this article. It does indeed look... I don't know, the fashions seem a bit loud. It's been published, and she has been very fretful about a backlash because we are in the middle of a very dumb moral panic about transgender people, particularly kids. And she's just won the Klaus Flug Prize for Most Exciting Newcomer to Picture Book Illustration.
Cool.
Very cool.
That is good news.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
I've genuinely been worrying about approaching this, not because of trans issues, just thinking, how do we talk about something that's nice on literary loitering?
That we all agree with and think, yeah, that's great, thumbs up.
Yeah. It's I've got to admit, it still feels like unstable territory.
I mean, I'm flicking through all my cards that just say, world weary cynicism or deliberately making goofy jokes to distract from the fact that we're spiraling towards certain destruction. And there's just nothing for this kind of situation.
It is the show hosting equivalent of just that truck backing out slowly onto the bridge in Wages of Fear. Yes, Love cites as inspirations growing up seeing her aunt with her wife, saying they were two very visible queer role models. They were the effective heads of the Love family. I never knew a world without strong gay role models, and I've seen the impact that had on the second generation of my family. I wanted to make a book that provided that kind of support and pride of place, but quietly, subtly.
Should have done a book about how those lesbians drove the truck so close to that precipice.
Yeah, or should have done a book called Lesbians, The Power of Being a Woman and Also Being with Another Woman by Malcolm Gladwell. Front cover, pair of Birkenstocks in front of a blank white background. But yes, final quote before we move on to some more cynicism. Winning the £5,000 prize means her heart is in danger of popping, she says, continuing, I put my whole soul into this book, but didn't allow myself to hope that it would lead to anything. In fact, I firmly hedged my bets against it having any success because it would have been too painful to hope and be disappointed. But then this happens, and I'm proven miraculously, incredibly, joyously wrong.
That's gorgeous.
That is nice. I'm going to have to mark off some points, though. Because she did say she put her whole soul into this book, rather than I filled this book with a lot of love, and then winked to camera.
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah, she's not working her surname, is she?
Maybe she wants to make it on her own without relying on the family for support.
Yeah, without relying on the fact that her family invented love. She's just a trust fund baby.
Yeah, exactly. Damn it, Grandma Aphrodite, I'm going to make my own way in the world.
So, we've done a lot of Guardian stories this week because it is probably the only paper that really bothers to have a book section anymore. So, good for them.
Yeah, it's kind of Spartan in other newspapers.
God, it isn't enough.
I keep reading through the newspapers and I'm going, well, hang on. You're a medium that we read. Why don't you have a section about books?
The Independent used to cater to the literate much more often, didn't it?
Yeah, and then they stopped.
Actually, I just remember sadly watching their book section on the website just slowly dry up over the course of a few months.
Yes, yeah.
And now it's all just lists and reviews of books that we're probably never going to read.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, they're dreadful for listicles. BuzzFeed for old people.
I hate the word listicle.
It does sound... It could go in a number of directions, couldn't it?
Well,
obvious one.
It's just... It sounds like someone put the word lick and another word together.
Portmanteau word.
Yeah, it's a portmanteau word. It could be list article, but it could also be lick testicle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's literally what I said.
Yeah.
But yes.
Thank you, Rob. You're truly the Malcolm Gladwell of naughty jokes.
Oh.
You beat me to it.
The Madwell.
Oh.
Anyway, everything's terrible again now, so let's have the next story.
Yes. What I was getting towards was that my research takes me everywhere. It's just that most places I don't find anything. So I'm pleased to be doing a story from, I think, a new source from us, a source that we haven't used before, the student newspaper, The Tab.
What?
Oh, I do not know that. I've never heard of that. Good research. Excellent.
You have been ranging far afield.
Also, Greg,
Yes.
you sound like a guy with a metal detector.
Yeah, except I find things.
They find things as well. I'll have you know. I watch Detectorists. I know the truth.
But yes, the Tab reports that a man has been jailed for 25 months for stealing books from Scottish universities. You might think that sounds like a bit much for missing, your library deadlines, doesn't it? And then you read that he has stole 7,000 books.
Wow.
Where was he keeping them?
Where was he?
That's a full-time job.
Yeah,
surely.
where was he keeping these books?
Well, that's the thing. Not only did he steal more than 7,000 books, he made more than £80,000 selling them on second-hand books websites.
Wow.
Average of tenner each.
So,
I was kind of hoping he just had all the books in a large vault and to dive into them Scrooge McDuck style.
I mean, that's what I'd do.
see, I'm kind of not surprised that he got caught, considering that, number one, libraries tend to have I believe it's called a catalogue of all the books in the library, and the libraries also tend to brand the books by sticking their name on the inside of the book, and then if the book appears on a second-hand book website, then that's going to be linked to somebody's account. So, yeah, I'm not surprised he got caught.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. How the hell did he get away with this for long enough to steal 7,000?
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he
And they
was.
didn't notice any sooner.
It's not like he was leaving breadcrumbs. It's more like an entire loaf every single time.
Yes. The tab says that none of the books he stole were rare, but Edinburgh Napier have said the books he stole included texts which are incredibly sought after, including ones on nursing, business studies, human resources, marketing, and criminology.
Maybe he should have read those.
Yeah.
I will become a master book thief and steal the books from all the university libraries.
Maybe he
God,
thought...
that's a hell of a line, isn't it? Oh, so what did you write the book on? Art theft. No, but I sure stole it.
Maybe he stole the criminology ones first to get tips. But
He looks
yeah,
like a
Really
wrong
going in and checking out book stealing for dummies. Should have been a tip-off.
he does look a bit like a sort of shifty character who might be played by Peter Sarsgaard in a movie. My two favourite things about this story, firstly, if he's been stealing academic books from a university library, presumably some of the people that have been buying them are students, right?
Yes. I'd say that's the core audience.
So he's stole books from a publicly funded educational building and sold them back to students for an exorbitant markup. I mean, is this a crime or is it just privatisation in action?
It's the coalface of privatisation, isn't it?
He should be looking for a contract with the Department of Education.
Or business.
Yeah.
Please don't let any of the
still hiring.
I was going to say, please don't let the Conservatives read this article.
My absolute favourite thing about this article, though, is that there is a photo which doesn't appear to be a stock photo. I think the tab have taken it themselves, of somebody pointing at a shelf and looking confused with the caption, "An recreation of someone looking for a book Darren stole."
That's the best photo I've seen this week. That's hilarious.
And recreation.
And recreation.
I think I went to school with her.
Man looks confused besides bookshelf.
In fairness, one of the books he stole was the tab's copy editor's guide. Let's wrap up, shall we? With a...
But before we do, Graham, can I just give my heartfelt thanks for picking up the tab?
Nice! That's actually the perfect link.
Yeah.
Because we've got a double bill of immersive theatre news. I know it's everyone's favourite. And the first one is set in the Bunker Theatre in London, built on the site of a former underground car park. It's gone through some transformations in its 3-year working life, but now it has gone through perhaps the most ambitious one. It has become a fully functioning pub.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is because of Anna Jordan, who has written a play called We Anchor in Hope about the closing of a local pub and wanted to produce it in the most accurate setting she could think of. She was a barmaid for years in Brentford while she was at drama school. She has memories of being taken to pubs by her parents when she was frankly alarmingly young. And yeah, now the Bunker is an actual pub now.
So the audience are basically people in the pub getting drunk.
Yep.
So life basically became art.
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
Really, really drunken art.
So is she gonna shut the bunker down as part of the play?
That's quite a big question, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think she's going that far for realism.
Well, this is the question, because pubs historically can make a fair bit of money if they're in the right location.
Yes.
As can any business, yeah.
Yeah, potentially more than her play. Yeah, potentially more than that play will make. So, Could it just be that she found a workaround to becoming a full-time pub landlord?
I don't know, pubs aren't as good a business investment as they used to be. They're closing down at a rate of knots.
Definitely not. They're a very ancient sort of thing that needed to sort of change and move on. And
that's why the gastropubs are on the rise.
And also pubs that do multiple lines of things, like post offices and libraries are also in pubs now, and
or
coffee shops.
Or theatres.
Or theatres, in fact. Yes.
Cinema. Put a cinema in the pub.
That's a great idea. Actually, I really like that idea.
I have genuinely seen pubs put film screenings on.
Cool. Oh, yeah, I used to go to one in...
There's one in Hartlepool, isn't there?
I used to go, well, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, yes, there was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one in Manchester I used to go to. And it was a cafe. What was it? Oh, Fab Cafe.
Right.
Which is a great, it was like walking into a Jerry Anderson Doctor Who set. And they used to have a curry supper, and you used to pay for the supper and watch the film for free. And and I'll tell you when I saw it, when it was by the film. The film was Patricia Arquette in Stigmata.
Oh, right. So turn of the millennium stuff then.
Long time ago.
This article makes me like Anna Jordan an awful lot. She went through suggestions for what makes a good pub with her director, so they could create this environment. And their rules are songs on the jukebox that are 2 years out of date.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Bar staff who don't take themselves too seriously, and definitely a pool table.
Yes.
I don't play pool, but just seeing a pool table as I go in a pub makes me feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Does it? It doesn't with me.
Oh?
It makes me feel like maybe this is too laddie.
Yeah,
and I'm a bit nervous when I see them.
Yeah.
I can get that. I like it when there's one pool table. When there's 2 or 3, that's when I start thinking it's getting a bit laddie. If there's just one and it's just off in a dingy corner and there's no one around it, it just looks forlorn and lonely.
Yeah, well, it's basically just like a decorative table.
An ambient pool table.
Yeah, there's just a lonely light bulb illuminating it.
Ambient pool table is a good episode title.
See, then I don't think
brand name.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, then I don't think it's out of place because it fits. It fits with the grim reminder that people are there not to enjoy themselves. They're there to drown their sorrows in alcohol and forget about the hurt of the world.
This is completely true. I mean, ever since I was a teenager, I've always liked sad old man pubs. I think a pub that is so marked that there's no risk that some weird old fella can buttonhole you and start talking nonsense for half an hour isn't a real pub.
Any pub in which that you can walk into and not be at risk of hearing tales of the war. Doesn't matter which war, right? But doesn't matter which war, but somebody in there will get drunk and start telling you all about the war.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I sat in a pub in London one time and I was getting told about a war that happened in 1874. When neither me nor the drunken gentleman was alive.
Which war was that?
I have no idea. Apparently there was a war somewhere in 1874.
It's a pretty solid bet, mind.
Well, there's always a war somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
I might look it up.
Man, I can't wait till I'm old so I can start writing to all the kids about the Battle of Hastings.
Yeah. Is that the purpose of getting old, that you can pretend that you fought in a war?
No, I think it's the purpose of a history degree.
Maybe no one's ever fought in a war. Maybe they're all making it up.
The First Spanish Republic. The Second Spanish Republic. Red River Indian War. Well, it'd be Native American War.
Yeah.
In Texas.
Let me tell you, I saw some rough stuff in the war. One time we were in the desert. The damn troopers. They killed a homestead just because they were looking for one kid. And another time, those monsters, they blew up a whole damn planet.
And the younglings.
Revolt of the Muckers, Pabna Peasant Uprising, the Third Anglo-Ashanti War, which was between the British Empire and the Ashanti
And the
Empire.
R&B singer Ashanti.
/ Warlord when she wasn't being R&B singer.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I totally misread that. The Colfax County War, and I thought this said the Cantona Revolution. I was thinking Eric Cantona.
But hold on a minute, Graham.
Oh?
You said there were 2 stories of interesting immersive theatre experiences. I've only heard one.
I totally did. Thank you for reminding me. Do you remember on the last show when I mentioned an immersive theatre production of The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes.
Oh, the one that definitely wasn't going to go wrong in any conceivable way.
That's the one, yes. Now, I imagine you're expecting me to be following this up because things have continued to not go wrong at all.
No.
Ideally, yes. That's what we've prepared ourselves for.
Hartshorn Hook Production Company have found a way to make their immersive Wolf of Wall Street production even more immersive than it was before, the venue has now been flooded.
I was about to say, did they drop it in a pool or something like that?
Yes, they did.
I'm not sure they quite understand the concept.
It's immersion, goddammit.
They have issued a statement which is fabulously excuse-ridden. It says, since opening our doors to the public, we have needed to make a number of significant changes to the production, and the script is in flux. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? The script.
Yeah.
The script is in flux, as you can see as it slowly floats away.
But that's the thing with immersive experiences and mingling with the crowds and everybody doing their own thing, but kind of collectively. Of course, the script is in flux. It's an improvised script in a lot of cases.
Yes. And also, decisions like, do you do backstroke, breaststroke?
Yes. Bombing. There's too much heavy petting in that production.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's going to be a worrying amount of breaststroke.
No, it's the Wolf of Wall Street. Everyone's going to play water polo, which is a surprisingly violent sport.
Yeah, for the horses.
Yes. But yeah, I just wanted to say that incredibly stupid story, and I feel kind of responsible for it because after I read that out last time, I did have a series of prophetic dreams asking me to build an ark. So I guess we know what that's about now.
Somebody's been watching Evan Almighty again.
Oh, I love that film.
I love that we're all such a bunch of heathens that I can reference the biblical story of Noah, and Rob immediately goes, "Oh, Evan Almighty!"
Sheep!
I just love that film for the fact that they actually wrote the line about the species and the feces.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It's that report with the glasses who's kind of snarky going, now that, with all these species, what's going to happen with all the feces?
Oh, snappy. Yeah, she's reporting from outside of the ark and it's raining.
Yeah.
Or it's not raining yet or something. Yeah.
It's great that Rob is just talking like we've all seen Evan Almighty, isn't it? Like that's a common cultural handshake that we all have between us.
I think it is. It's my cultural landscape.
See?
I mean, I have to admit, I have seen it, but can perhaps maybe not just bring it to the forefront of my mind at the snap of my fingers.
I just remember stories. It's a curse. I remember every story I've read or watched.
It's a really sweet film.
Graham's in the minority in this case.
Yeah, I'm the one who hasn't seen the
it.
film.
Oh.
Weird. But yes.
It will be on Channel 5 next Sunday, probably.
Oh, right. Is it to Channel 5 what Hot Fuzz is to ITV2?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Or it might be ITV. You never know. Channel 5 and ITV seem to swap it between them.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, while we're on a sunny upland high note, what's everyone been reading?
I've been reading something that's been mentioned on the show before. I think Rob reviewed it. Wastelands: The New Apocalypse.
Yes, I did review it.
Because, gosh darn it, it's not a holiday unless I have some horrifying apocalyptic fiction to read.
And do you agree with me that it's good, but it's also depressing as balls?
It is, yeah.
So many expressions are improved by the use of that as balls after them, honestly.
Did you read the short story, the one where the baby, with the one that's kind of the Naked Lunch-esque?
I'm guessing his silence means no.
One in, like, the very futuristic city.
Yes.
Where it's just...
Yeah, do you remember I said no, they're bad author, bad.
Actually, that one might be my favourite one. Because I really love the idea that it's billions of years in the future, and like humanity's existed for so long that everyone has done literally everything, and things have just got super weird.
Yep. It's messed up, seriously.
It sounds it.
Like, it starts off with the main character getting evicted from his giant floating orgy.
Okay.
So that's the Wolf of Wall Street immersive theatre production, right?
Basically. Only with more machines that can turn you into, like, an apple pie.
Well, I am still reading. Well, I'm reading three things. I'm reading Animal by Sarah Pascoe when I am anywhere, when I go anywhere, because it's in my bag, and I'm reading it and on the train mainly. So I read about 6 pages at a time of that. I have read the Kitchen graphic novel, which is like the source material for a film that's out at the moment called The Kitchen, with Tiffany Haddish and Elizabeth Moss and Melissa McCarthy. Mm-hmm. And it's there's a Venn diagram going on in terms of similarities between the two, but they aren't identical. And also, I got given a book the other day by the author, who's a local woman called Fiona Erskine, and she is a chemical engineer. And she's written a novel called The Chemical Detective. So she says, you have to read my book. So I will do. My new train read.
Nice. I am reading Mythos by Stephen Fry.
How are you?
Yes.
Cool. How is it?
It's good. I started reading it because there were several quiz questions on TV recently about Greek myths, and I thought, oh man, I used to know all of these when I was a kid, and now I just can't keep them all straight. So I thought, yes, I will read through this as a accessible reintroduction, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, Fry is obviously... It seems kind of ill at ease writing some of the mass murder, child cannibalism, and lots of rape that the Greek canon basically consists of. But it's brisk and informative, and he gets into how these stories have influenced modern language and the like. And yeah, I'm finding it a good read.
It looks like it's going to be a good read.
And also, in Zeus's defense, that woman was a complete stranger to him. How was he supposed to know she didn't want to be impregnated by a gust of wind?
This is true.
He should have taken the time to get to know her.
Speaking of gusts
that can take years.
Speaking of gusts of wind,
right?
I have just started reading because I had this given to me.
1001 fart gags.
Nope. Toast on Toast: Cautionary Tales and Candid Advice.
Oh, nice.
It's the book for all.
Cool.
It's a must-have book for all budding actors and non-actors too. Apparently, it's
Toasters in Toast of London.
Yes.
oh, that's very good.
Nice.
It's part memoir and part how to act. It's kind of genius. I love these books where they actually write them in character. It's like the encyclopedia I got for you, Sarah. The
Kunk.
Yeah, the Kunk encyclopedia.
That was very good.
That would go very well paired with this, because this is just it's a memoir for the most part, but it's also, look, this is how I act. It's the toast modern method.
The gold standard of in-character comedy books, of course, is the Alan Partridge autobiographies.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of in that vein of the Alan Partridge autobiographies, but I think with this being geared towards acting specifically, it's if you know anything about acting or if you're involved in the arts in any way, it's really funny.
Right. That sounds good.
Oh, yes, I would like to read that, definitely. There's so many things that I want to read comedy-wise. I mean, I've not read any Alan Partridge, which is a terrible omission, but there you go. It's too many things to do and so little time.
I know.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah.
I want to get the audiobook for this, because apparently Matt Merry is actually narrating it.
Fantastic.
Oh, I might have to get that.
He's got such a gorgeous voice as well.
Apparently they got...
Because I'm already trying to think about how does he mispronounce the word memoir.
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 Right, is that about wrapped it up?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango.
I think that definitely wraps it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's me, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was actually distracted by some of the glorious names in Toast on Toast. Like Ed Hauser Black and, as you said, Clem Fandango and various others. If you want to catch any of our other episodes of Literary Loitering or any of the other shows on the Geek Show Podcast Network, then you can find them all on our website, thegeekshow.co.uk, or you'll find them on whichever podcast provider that you're using. We are available on all of them. And also on our website, you'll find various reviews of video games and movies and various things like that. And yeah, that's about it from us for this week. We will see you all next time. Until then, I've been Rob. Is someone going to say something?
I've been Sarah. See what happens.
Yeah.
And I've been Andrew, neatly avoiding the car crash.
And we will see you all later.
Thanks for listening.
Right.